YouTube, welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Rather than showing off a particular deck list, we're going to be showing how to build a particular deck list. Inspired by some discussion yesterday on Facebook, some friends of mine were playing Patriot in the lower half of the ranked ladder and were struggling and wanted some advice as to how to build a Patriot deck that was going to get them into Infinite. Now, there's no promises that what we do here today is going to get you to Infinite, but it's going to get you thinking about what your deck should look like in that specific archetype. Coming from Magic the Gathering, this is called a primer about building a deck. So let's get right into it. First thing, we're going to look at our core, which is Patriot, the lovely seasonal skin. Now, if you have Mystique, Mystique goes really nicely because she copies Patriot and then gives all of your things twice the boost. Another option that you see a lot of is Kazar and Blue Marvel. And I want to bring in Onslaught here. Now, these were all of the ongoing cards that showed up in their deck lists. Kazar being the one that's probably the most in question. And then Onslaught, which you see a lot. Blue Marvel, which I do see a lot of, kind of rounding out the top end. Now, I don't like Kazar, Blue Marvel, or Onslaught that much. In my head, when playing Patriot, what you want to be doing on turn 6 is playing Patriot and Mystique, and giving a big +4 to each of the things in your board, which means that Onslaught can't be played unless if you open up your Patriot and your Mystique to something like Enchantress, which is not great, because then all your board is bad. It does nothing. Also, Kazar means that you have to play a really, really low costed curve. Or, in their specific case, what they were playing was Ultron, who I scrolled past. Playing Ultron, because Ultron fills up all of the locations with drones. The drones cost 1, and the drones have no ability, which means they're boosted by Kazar, they're boosted by Blue Marvel, they're boosted by Patriot. So what you would do is you would just play Anthems, and then you'd play Ultron at the very end. Unfortunately, this is super telegraphed, so if your opponent has Killmonger in their deck, they go, oh, they've played Patriot, oh, they've played Mystique, they have nothing with no ability in play, they've got 1 power on board. Let's hold this Killmonger for the final turn. And it can be pretty bad. I don't personally like Ultron. Ultron is a backup plan, but what I found was that a lot of the time you want to be playing out Patriot and Mystique together on the final turn, and you need to be able to draw both of those cards. So we're going to quickly jump over to my Patriot deck and jump back to give you a look at what I'm playing, because I'm playing both Bast and Adam Warlock, which helps you draw cards. I am not playing Ultron, Onslaught, or Blue Marvel, or Kazar. And I have 5 1-drops. 4 in the deck, and then the extra one being the Demon. And Iron Man instead, because Iron Man plus Mystique is also very good. But that is all because the deck is built around Bast interacting with Patriot. So if you don't have Bast, this is less helpful for you. And the people that I was talking about with on Facebook yesterday obviously don't have Bast. He had M'Baku in his list. So we're talking about, first thing we're going to do is going to cut M'Baku. And I want to get rid of these things. We're going to look at the stuff that has no ability. So we have a few options. I don't particularly like Cyclops. I don't particularly like Abomination. I do like White Tiger, but that's because I play Bast. I don't necessarily recommend White Tiger. But Mr. Sinister, Debris, and Squirrel Girl are all really good. If you have Brood, play Brood. These are all things that add more than one thing with no ability. In my list, you saw I had Wasp. Wasp works with Adam Warlock because it will help you draw a card when he's played, because you can play 2 things on that turn. And doesn't really work in this list. I don't see the point in it. I prefer Shocker in a lot of cases. And then once you've got that, you want to find things that work well on your curve, work well with what you're doing. If you have Hood, play Hood. I like Hood a lot. I like Misty Knight a lot. So we have this really early tempo thing where we're playing a whole bunch of things, and then we're going to end on Patriot Mystique, which means we could be playing Abomination. So turn 5 Abomination, turn 6 the 2/3 drops. Could be playing Cyclops for the turn 3. I don't particularly like Cyclops. I'd prefer to play Shocker pretty much every time. Thing is okay. And then you're kind of trying to find out how you're going to curve around these things. Doctor Doom is also good, but it has that same problem. Because like you might end up playing Patriot on 5, Mystique on 6. My personal preference is Iron Man to pretty much any 6-drop in this deck. But again, that's because I'm playing Bast. And so now we could be playing just other things. Like we don't necessarily have to have all of these things with no ability, but you want to have a ratio of things with no ability and things with ability. Because if you have nothing with no ability, nothing's going to get boosted by Patriot. So let's have a quick scroll through the everything section. Like we could play Angela, because this, if you have a look, is a bit more of a zoo variation of the deck. You could play something like Carnage and Bucky Barnes, because the Winter Soldier comes in and it has no ability, which is pretty good. And then Carnage is really good at eating the hood. Carnage is really good at just eating up a squirrel. So you could lean more in that direction if you wanted to. If you have, good destroy cards you could put in there. What else have I got that could work? Because I only have Mystique and Patriot. Why would I play Onslaught? I would have to also put in Blue Marvel. I have to also put in something else there. I do like Adam Warlock, but that's because if you don't draw Patriot, you will struggle to Patriot things. Mystique has nothing to copy. Playing Blue Marvel and copying Blue Marvel with Mystique is also a good backup plan. So let's go ahead and put Blue Marvel in here. Right, because that's not horrible. The other thing is that you could lean more into disruption. For example, Debris is already giving you 2 rocks on the opponent's side of the field. You could put in something like Viper, you could put in something like Green Goblin to help clog up your opponent's side of the board. I think these particular things are more hot location dependent, because if you have a hot location that works really well for that, that could be very helpful. You could play something like Storm. Storm into Brood could be very good because you shut down a location and fill it out at the same time. What else have we got? I'm not seeing anything too crazy. I'm really married to my Bast version. I do like Goose. If you're worried about your Patriot and Mystique being Enchantress, you can play Goose, which is tech that the Cerebro deck plays to deal with that. And you could also just play something that is huge value without necessarily being a no ability card, right? Like Rescue or Jessica Jones if you wanted to go Storm. Or something like Shang-Chi, just genuinely a tech card. One of the things that I've been wanting to play with, and I don't think is going to work until later on, is Zero and Lizard and Enchantress, and possibly Typhoid Mary as well, which is just like an extra package that you would put into the deck, because the cards that become zeroed are no ability and are boosted by Patriot. Same as whenever you get leeched, all of your stuff is boosted by Patriot. Assuming Patriot's not the thing that gets leeched. We've got Wasp. I think Wasp is okay, but because you already have really good early play stuff, putting in Wasp for me only works if you're going to be playing Adam Warlock. Invisible Woman is a really good tech card because you can hide Patriot and Mystique behind it. And something like Debris or something like Squirrel Girl, so that your opponent isn't able to accurately calculate how much no ability things you have in play, which could be really good. And then that's kind of everything. I'm not really seeing anything else too crazy in there. A lot of the time you can just play stuff that's good, or you can play stuff that's tech like Cosmo and try and round out your deck with things that work to help deal with problems that you face, or a deck that you'll see a lot. Like if you're complaining about Leader a lot, you could be playing Goose, you could be playing Cosmo, to help you deal with some of these problems. But I think the overall thing that you need to be mindful of is the ratio of your anthems, things that provide a boost to all of your things of one type, that is an anthem, and your actual things with no ability, because you could lean too heavily in anthems. If you go Patriot on 3, Mystique on 4, Blue Marvel on 5, Kazar and one thing on 6, you're not going to have very many no ability cards, just for example. And then you need to find a balance of how that's going to work. Are you just never going to have priority in the early game? Is that a problem? Am I worried about what my opponent is playing? Can they just play something that will shut me down entirely? Do I just lose to somebody playing a big thing onto me? Or do I lose to somebody vipering Electro over to me, or playing Sandman, and then I can't go Patriot Mystique on the final turn? These are kind of things that you need to look at and kind of think about and go, what cards do I need to put into my deck that's going to fix this problem? Because as you can see, we have a slot open for that, and a lot of these cards just come down to what is in your collection. Sometimes playing something suboptimal is just good because that's the best thing that you have, and then you aim to replace it as you unlock new cards. But that's it from me. Hopefully this gives you some ideas about how to play a Patriot type deck in Marvel's Snap. If you think this is helpful, let me know. If you have any questions about this archetype, drop it in the comments below, or hit some of these other videos. I do have a bunch of other Marvel Snap content. I'll have them up in the boxes over here. Click it. Click the boxes. Click the boxes for me. Click them.